Why are you so tired? It is the question that haunts every Friday afternoon, usually arriving right around the time you are staring blankly at a spreadsheet while your brain is busy calculating the exact trajectory of your weekend plans. You look at the clock, then you look at your half-finished to-do list, and you feel a weight in your bones that a third cup of coffee simply cannot touch. As your resident mind decoder, I have a confession to make. Most of the advice you've been given about your exhaustion is fundamentally wrong. You've been told that you're tired because you didn't get 8 hours of sleep. You've been told it's your caffeine intake, or your lack of vitamin D, or that you aren't doing enough cardio. But as a deep-thinking introvert, a high-functioning multitasker, or a scanner with a dozen brilliant projects on the go, your fatigue isn't coming from your pillow. It is coming from a high-tech metabolic civil war occurring inside your skull. Let's start with the current pain. Have you ever woken up after a full night of sleep and still felt like your brain was stuck in second gear? You feel fried before you've even started the day. You move through your week paying what I call the metabolic tax. For the scanner brain, which thrives on making deep connections and performing far transfer between complex ideas, the modern world is a non-stop series of high-energy withdrawals. Every unreturned email, every half-read book on your nightstand, and every quick check of your phone is a ping on your mental RAM. By the time Friday rolls around, you aren't just physically drained, you are neurologically overdrawn. Society has a word for this feeling: burnout. But for people like us, it isn't just about overwork, it is about the physics of context switching. To understand this, we have to look at the neuroscience of your brain's CEO, the prefrontal cortex, or the PFC. The PFC handles what we call executive functions. It plans, it decides, it filters out distractions, and it manages your impulses. But here's the catch that explains your exhaustion. The PFC is the most expensive part of your brain to run. It consumes a disproportionate amount of glucose and oxygen compared to any other region. Unlike the older parts of your brain that handle breathing or walking, the PFC has a very short battery life. Every time you switch tasks, moving from a complex report to a quick Slack notification, you are grinding the gears of your PFC. Psychologists call this decision fatigue. For the multitasker, life is a constant, exhausting stream of tiny, microscopic decisions. Should I answer this now? Where did I save that file? Which of my 6 hobbies should I work on tonight to feel human again? Each of these choices is a literal withdrawal from your metabolic bank account. By Friday afternoon, your CEO has checked out for the week, leaving the panic interns, the primitive, reactive parts of your brain, to run the company. This is why you find yourself scrolling mindlessly through TikTok at 5 p.m. Your brain physically does not have the fuel left to choose a more meaningful activity. For the introverted multitasker, this is even more taxing because of something called sensory processing sensitivity. We don't just see a messy desk or a crowded inbox, we process every detail deeply. Every piece of unfinished business in your environment is what we call an open loop. Based on the Zeigarnik effect, your brain is biologically hardwired to remember incomplete tasks better than completed ones. This means that while you are trying to relax on the sofa, your brain is still in the background frantically refreshing the tabs of your unfinished projects. You aren't tired because you did too much, you are tired because you are leaving too much open. Biology isn't destiny, but it is currently being used against you. We've been training our brains to live in a state of permanent bottom-up attention, reacting to every buzz and ping like a caveman, constantly looking for predators. This state of low-level alarm keeps your amygdala, your brain's smoke detector, chirping all day long. This raises your cortisol levels, which in turn inhibits the PFC. You are effectively living in a state of biological de-escalation, where your brain refuses to let you engage in deep work because it thinks it needs to save that energy for a survival situation that doesn't exist. So how do we stop the metabolic leak? How do we reclaim our energy without moving to a monastery or throwing our phones into the river? We move from being victims of our curiosity to being engineers of our attention. We stop trying to manage our time and we start managing our cognitive load. We move away from the dash-shaped life of shallow distraction and toward an architecture that allows us to thrive. If Part 1 felt like a mirror of your own exhaustion, then Part 2 is the manual to break the cycle. As your resident mind decoder, I want to offer you a way out of the Friday fog. We aren't going to fix this with a nap or a silent retreat. We are going to fix it with psychological closure and energy architecture. Your brain is a masterpiece of evolutionary survival, but it is currently being exploited by a world that is too loud, too bright, and far too cluttered. To reclaim your energy and your IQ, we have to move away from the dash-shaped life of shallow distraction and toward the M-shaped life of deep, polymathic mastery. The first pillar of this modeling solution is the tactical brain dump. Remember Bluma Zygarnik and those open loops? To stop the metabolic tax, you have to convince your brain that your work is safe. Science shows that you don't actually have to finish every task to close the loop. You just need a trusted plan for it. Before you finish your workday, you must perform a neurological flush. Move every task, every "I should do this," and every random scanner idea out of your high-energy RAM and into an external system, be it a digital garden like Notion or a simple physical journal. By writing it down and assigning a specific date to handle it, you provide your brain with the resolution it craves. You are telling that grumpy German customs officer in your head, "Look, I have the paperwork right here. I'm going to deal with this on Monday morning." The officer stamps the paper, lets you through, and your brain finally receives the signal to stand down. The second pillar is serial mastery. The scanner's biggest energy leak is trying to build all their pillars at once. You want to learn code, study Renaissance history, and start a garden all in the same week. This is a recipe for a prefrontal cortex meltdown. Instead, you must choose one pillar for a season, perhaps 6 to 18 months, and give yourself full permission to pour your focus there. This is the secret to energy management. You aren't choosing for life, you're just choosing for now. This lowers the stakes, reduces the daily decision fatigue by 90%, and allows your brain to stay in a state of cognitive ease. You save your mental battery for the germane load, the energy your brain uses to actually learn and build deep mental maps. When you reach a level of fluency, you don't quit, you graduate to the next pillar. The third pillar involves reframing your daily life using the Einstein model of strategic stability. Many introverts and multitaskers think they need a high-passion, high-intensity job to feel alive, but for the polymath, that is often an energy trap. Albert Einstein didn't start his career at a top-tier physics lab. He was a patent clerk. It was a stable, low-drain job that provided the cognitive surplus he needed to wander the universe in his mind. You may need to reframe your day job as a strategic asset, not a cage, but a stable platform. If your stability pillar leaves you fried by 5 p.m., you have no energy left for the far transfer breakthroughs your brain was built for. We organize the boring stuff to protect the energy for the genius stuff. Finally, we must apply environmental minimalism. Every object in your field of vision is a visual stimulus that your brain is subconsciously processing. Even if you aren't looking at that stack of unopened mail, your brain is scanning it, asking if it's a threat. This is a constant tax on your attention. To reach peak performance, you must implement what I call the visual silence protocol. Create a flow zone, a clear space around your work area where no other projects or distractions are allowed. By clearing the immediate peripheral, you deactivate the amygdala's smoke detector and tell your nervous system it is finally safe to think deeply. So let's put the pieces together. You are not chronically tired because you are lazy or broken. You are tired because you are a high-performance machine running on a biological operating system that was never designed for the specialist trap or the digital slot machine in your pocket. The self-blame ends today. The specialists of the 20th century were great for a world that stayed the same, but the M-shaped integrator is the one who survives and thrives in the wicked environment of the 21st century. Your curiosity is not a liability. It is your greatest strategic advantage, provided you have a system that supports it instead of punishing it. To help you navigate this transition, I have created a free resource called the Energy Architecture Audit. It's a simple framework to help you identify your mental leaks and design your first M-shaped season. You can download it using the link in the description. Stop trying to be just one thing. Start being the bridge between worlds. Your brain will thank you, and your CEO might finally get that vacation it's been asking for. Thanks for watching. I hope this gives you a map you can actually use, and I will see you in the next one.